Okay, so we're getting to the end of it. This is about the Christmas time. As Jim says, the strike is almost over. We're getting tired. You know, our Christmas tree is not really beautiful, but who cared? That one of our friends and sitting on a keg of beer, a very Czech thing to do at the end of the strike, looking really tired. But that was the time when it was almost certain that Václav Havel will be elected the Czech president, because he was elected on the 29th of December. What was amazing, and what he often remembers as the most absurd, or one of the most absurd things that happened to him in his life, that he was elected by the same communist parliament, which has sent him to jail, actually voted for the dissidents to be sent to jail, because the government has changed. We have forced the government to step down and to be replaced by a more balanced, representatives. But the parliament was still the same. We didn't have parliamentary elections. So, I mean, there was a communist parliament which voted Havel into the presidency. And he says, I'm sitting there looking at these people, all hard like communists. And that was voted by acclamation. So, I mean, you have to stand up and say, I vote. And they were voting for me. And just like they always voted unanimously, they voted me like 100% votes. They voted me in the office. And I'm there. I cannot believe it. It's like within 6 weeks, I became the president. And this is what we did. And there was also what was important, that Havel was always painted by the media as someone who is a dangerous person, who is a bourgeois representative, who is supported by the evil empire, the West. You know, sending money and bribing him into destroying, dismantling socialism. People really believed that, and that was until the 17th of November. And what the students had to do, because the students could, we had to do some publicity, some major publicity for Havel, because still until the mid-December, as I said, media were in the hands of the communist governments, and they didn't want Havel to be the president, obviously. And so when we look at the changes that happened within 3 months, I mean, here we have Václav Havel in February 1990 speaking to the American Congress, one of his memorable speeches, at least in the Czech history of the presidency. And it all happened within just a number of weeks. What my closing remark, from my perspective, about all this is, tied to, you know, how I stood up at the meeting, you know, of the students at the, in the dorms. Some of the changes are so quick, so unexpected, so sweet. You can just happen to be in the middle of the radical changes anytime. And what Czechoslovakia and now Czech Republic has gone through is unprecedented change, not only in the political framework, but actually also spiritually, because you go within days and weeks from the feeling of despair and passivity to the feelings of the pride and excitement, which eventually withers away, but you know, that's the case of most revolutions. I think that this is one of the experiences that not all the nations have ever actually gone through. And for many people who participated in it, and not only the Czechs, Jim is a good example of it, this is an exciting time, not only because of their personal involvement, but because you see what can happen, how unexpectedly life can turn, and what can be just around the corner, like that murmuring of the crowd at the main square in Prague when Jim got out of the train. So this is my final remark, and Jim, do you want to have yours before we start a discussion, if anybody wants to add something?
No, why don't we have a discussion? Any questions?
You speak of the police. Who were the police? Your brother and your father were military people. Who made up, you speak about the Russians, but who made up the police? Were they your neighbors?
Oh, I mean, the police I think it's just like here. I mean,
the police is just the state police. We had, in fact, two kinds of police. We had a secret police, which is called STB, and we had just the regular public police. They were just, regular police. I met some of them later on. I met the people who were, in fact, cracking down on the students in Prague, at the Wenceslas Square. I met some of them and talked to them, and many of them said, we didn't know what was going on. We were not sent, and we didn't mean to beat the students, but the order just came all of a sudden. And they say, we were frustrated too. We were scared, we were frustrated. Many of these of the units were the young policemen in training. Like in the military, you have a boot camp. This is when you go and then do the tough job before you move over to more regular activities. These were the people, these were the young men in boot camps, police boot camps, who were called up to Prague and given the orders and to be the students.
So it was Czechoslovakia?
Yeah, that was absolutely, yeah.
Communist Czechoslovakian police against student Czechoslovakian.
Yeah, absolutely. The Russians never got involved in any activities. They eventually were asked to leave. That was not easy. I heard stories from Mr. President about how he heard the Russians were being sent out. That was a tough time, but it came later. It came at the beginning of the year 1990. But there was a Czech police. They were already said the neighbors, just like the regular police in there. There was no international involvement at that time. I think that all the socialist countries they had their own agendas and issues because the whole Eastern Bloc was falling apart. Okay. Yeah.
Who coined the term the Velvet Revolution, and when did that start being used?
I think that it was a lot of this came from Prague because apart from the students, and I think that they should be mentioned at least in passing, even though they were a very important part of the revolution. There were the actors. There were, because Václav Havel himself is a playwright, and the fact is that the first meetings and a lot of publicity was done. Also, they were helping the students. The actors, because they were known from TV. It is just like here, I think there's a big case, when Hollywood enters the political issues, the people can taint or help their careers very much, depending on where they stand. It was the same, they helped us a lot because they would draw attention of people, they would draw the crowds too. So that was coming from, and they were the creative. Partially, they were the creative on the political level. They were the creative brains. We did the fun, but they did the thinking sometimes. And so some of these things, the marketing of the revolution. Even if it sounds awful, was coming from Prague. So the Velvet Revolution. I think that Václav Havel was at the head of the intellectual atmosphere, or intellectual management of the revolution. So it came, I don't know if directly from Václav Havel, but he is sometimes talking about the slogans that he used, not slogans, just words that he used. You saw him speaking to the crowds. And he says, sometimes I had this idea, it's I would want to send, he said, the truth and love has to win over the evil and hatred. He says, I know it sounds like a platitude, but I said it. I thought about it 2 seconds before I would go up and talk to the crowds, and it became a slogan of the revolution. So the Velvet Revolution, when we did our first recording, we called it our gentle revolution, but then eventually as a term, like the coined term, it became the Velvet Revolution, and became like an international, almost a term for the Czech Revolution.